former Assembly member for this area, and I now serve as the CEO for LAFJ Justice, and it's so good to see so many familiar faces. But for those of you who are here for the first time, I want to welcome you. And thank you for coming out on a Saturday morning. I think this is the first time we've actually had a Saturday morning presentation, but we also heard that for a lot of people making it during the course of the week is a little bit more challenging. So thank you for being here, and I anticipate that you'll have questions through the process and the presentation, but at the end. So we look forward to hearing what you have to say and your thoughts and impressions. And as you all know, this has been a very challenging year, and it is, we're just talking about how quickly this year seems to be flying by. And there's so many different dynamics that are kind of taking place during the course of the time. And I know that for people that you know and others who might be challenged in a lot of different ways as a result of the Eaton fire and the complexities that it's laid upon their lives, this is an opportunity for us to let you know what the piece of what we can do to help bridge that devastation to a place of renewal is what we're all about. And I know that, as you all know, that Edison is very clearly the cause of their utility equipment, the cause of this fire. And so with that in mind, it opens up a pathway for a lot of different conversations to happen and a process that must unfold. Legal process, but also one that at this time, Edison has an opportunity to share with the community what they think is an exit strategy. We know that in the fullness of time, and probably sometime in November, around Thanksgiving, we may see what the fullness of that looks like. And I think that at the end of the day, what our goal is to make sure that we can get you as close to whole as possible. And our expectation is that based on what the loss of what you've experienced, whether it's physical or whether it's personal, property, real estate, or what it's done to you as a person, what it's done to your psyche, how it's impacted friends and neighbors. That all has value to you as well, because that was taken away or certainly suspended as we now go through this period of uncertainty. And so our goal is to make sure that you are provided with all the information that you can have to make the best decisions that are available to you. We have an amazing group of legal minds that have been a part of these type of processes many times over. Whether in Northern California or in Hawaii and Lahaina, they have been in a part of a process to help communities to rebuild and to restore. And as we see in Altadena, and quite frankly, in a way, we're moving in somewhat of an accelerated process, primarily because the information that LAFJ Justice has been able to show this community and the world on how this fire started has really accelerated the process in terms of Edison realizing that it wasn't a campfire by people camping on Tower 3 to start the fire. It was a utility tower that essentially started this fire. And rather than having these many months of denial, we actually have them engaged. And so we're going to have a conversation about that, but we're also going to be in a position to answer any questions that you have about the process and where the legal case is at this particular time, and anything else that is relevant that you think that you want to share and get some answers to. So as I move forward, let me introduce Rico Reyes. Rico is one of our attorneys in our office. He comes to us with years of experience, not only in corporate America, but just in terms of public service and his leadership in academia and his understanding and knowledge of how the dynamics of these processes work and the legal steps that we need to take. And so before we bring up Doug Boxer, who is our lead attorney in California, let me introduce Rico Reyes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Holman. So here's what we're going to cover today. Well, actually, first let me introduce myself. I am Rico Reyes, as they said. I'm an attorney from Texas. I'm not licensed in California, but if we were to have to litigate here in the state of California and I had to litigate it from Texas, I would be applied to a process to be admitted to the state of California through a process called pro Boxer, of course, is our California lawyer, and he is, by law, you have to have somebody from California to keep us honest, to make sure that we follow the rules of ethics and the rules of civil procedure. So that's who we are as attorneys. We're going to go over our experience with utility wildfires, how the fire started, SoCal Edison's responsibility, the litigation update, and you can read the rest. We'll over to the next portion of our team. So here's Michael Watts. In my opinion, he is objectively one of the best in the country. In my opinion, the best on the planet. There is very few humans on Earth who have litigated the amount of wildfires that he has and recovered the billions that he has. His reputation is far and wide, and he's well known in this particular industry. Everybody knows Chris Holden. He is a man about town with deep, deep roots in the community, deep love for the community, and every single day, every single week, this man holds us accountable to make sure we never forget the heart of this community. And of course, I already talked about Doug Boxer. Doug will come up here in a bit. And Erin Brockovich. Sometimes folks ask, well, who is Erin Brockovich and what does she have to do with this fire? She is a fierce community advocate. And every time this woman appears in an effort, in a movement, in a lawsuit, it brings cameras to the table. It brings attention and press. And so even though she may not be from here, and even though she may not be a litigator, she is an incredibly valuable part of our team because it keeps the attention on you. It keeps people engaged in you. It keeps the focus on recovery. So we're really proud to have her. You can see our leadership. Of course, Chris Holden, Vellante Riddle. She is a senior community engagement specialist. However, she was the deputy chief here for a long time. Again, with very deep roots in the community and deep knowledge of the community, and we're real proud to have her. You can see me up there in the corner. Michael Bernard is our general counsel. We've got Nicole Lynch, who is our director of marketing and communications, and Jordy Gonzalez, who is our senior director of ground campaigns. He is the one who oversees a lot of what we do out in the community in terms of setting up a plan to reach you. So I'm going to let Angela Shaw, she is our director of community, the manager of community outreach, introduce her team. Everybody, Angela Shaw.
My name is Angela Shaw, and I am the outreach supervisor for LA Fire Justice. What we realize is that there's going to be a lot of things that happen before you get to the end of this, and our team is here to support you in that. We do a lot of events in the community. We have mental health Mondays. We have our insurance specialists. We have a lot of things that we want to do to support you to get to the end of this. And what I would like to do is, if you look back, there are a bunch of people in green shirts. Raise your hands, please. Okay, over to the left, we have Christine and Eileen, Zaria, Kylie, and Janet. These are the folks that you'll see out in the community. You'll see a lot of these green shirts. Please feel free if you need support or you're looking for information or you'd like us to outreach to your neighbors in your community. Just give us a call, reach out. You have all of our names now. Call the number there and just let us know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Angela Shaw. Okay, and of course we also have a case management team. Now, we're entering the phase of litigation where the whodunit part, that's over. Everybody in this room pretty much knows that SoCal Edison has done it, especially since they've moved to the stage where they're trying to talk about convincing you to settle. Doug Box will talk to you a little bit more about that later. But we've got Leslie Smith, she's our Chief Commercial Officer. Yesenia Carrillo, she's the Director of Client Operations. Marlene Buñuelos, Catherine Serrano, Melanie Martin, and Blanca Mendez. Also all bilingual, the folks that you see on a day-to-day basis that are here on site. And so for any of your Spanish-speaking friends, we have resources for them. But what they will do is reach out to you. We've got a lot of clients to get through. However, we're maybe about a quarter of the way through, almost a third of the way through. What will happen is once you sign up with us, you'll get a welcome email. You'll get a welcome phone call. We'll go over your narrative, we'll go over your property, you'll get a property checklist to see what you may or may not have in your kitchen, in your garage, in your living room. And they'll work one-on-one with you to build your case.
Rico, remind them what they said.
Oh, yes, that's a crucial part. So one of the things that Doug just reminded me is we are adding 7 more case managers to that docket. Chris Holden held us accountable to lowering our fees, so everybody, if you haven't heard, we're no longer at 33 1/3, which by the way, we still believe that we're absolutely worth it. However, it's difficult for that message to penetrate. So Chris held us accountable to this community, and we lowered our fees as a result. Now, by the way, how about a hand for Ms. Chris Holden? The second thing, though, is even though we've lowered our fees, we are absolutely not lowering our quality. One of the things I tell everybody who comes in is the 4 C's. We treat everybody with compassion. We give you confidence in our character, in our ability, in our competence. We give you clarity by providing options for you to understand how to deal with the rebuild, how to deal with architects, how to deal with general contractors. We have many mental health Mondays. There are opportunities for you to connect. And then we give you competence, clarity, compassion, and then community. You're part of a community that's rebuilding. You're already the heart of the community, but now you're rebuilding. All that's to say, once you're through the process, you've got to build your case, and you deserve one-on-one attention, quality attention. You get the opportunity to sit down as long as you need to. So 7 additional people, the quality is there. We're glad to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rico. Good morning, folks. My name is Doug Boxer. Saw pictures of me. I am this small, unfortunately. It's so good to see many of you who are clients already. We thank you so much for trusting us to take care of this very critically important case for you. For those of you who have not yet joined, welcome. This will be an informative period of time, and I encourage you to ask questions about what we do and how we do it. Before I get into this, there's a video I want to show. I want to introduce the SBA that's here. Kim, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Mitch, Kim and Mitch. Corey, who's the director of the program, is out on some personal leave, so glad to have the SBA here. What the SBA has done in this community is amazing in providing resources to people to hopefully let them hang on to their property, and we understand that that's a real challenge. And having the resources needed to bridge the gap between the time of the destruction of your home, the limited insurance resources you have, and then what you need to actually get a permit and get in the ground. So thank you guys for being here. And always, if you have any questions about the SBA and their programs, it's probably a misnomer, Small Business Administration, because much of the program offers resources for homeowners as well. So you can go stop by, they're in their blue shirts. I just wanted to acknowledge them being here. I think those of you who have been here before have seen this video. I'm going to show it again for those of you who haven't. This is a story about the work we've done in Maui, a little island 3,000 miles away, which suffered, unfortunately, the same fate that the community here in Altadena suffered on January 7th of this year. They're ahead of you by 2 years and change. And so I want to show you this video, and then I just came back from Maui on Thursday, and I want to give you a little update about that.
My name is Tiara Rivera. I am local, born and raised here on Maui. I am a mother of 2 young boys. I was in Kona, and I was flying home after a day of work, and to see to the left side of the plane, all I saw was the black funnel of smoke coming from Lahaina that just didn't look normal. But now I was like, what is going on? There's Lahaina fire. Like, that you could see it in immediate panic. And all I could think about was my grandmother and my family, that she's 89, she doesn't move around much. It's terrifying. You don't know, you don't know what's going on. I'm still in pieces. We all are. Since the fires, the only thing that my heart and energy wanted to do was to serve my community, to help, and I really wanted to hear the hearts behind the team. So for me, the choice to work with Hiko Lawsuit first and foremost, they walk the walk. They didn't come into our community like, this is how we're gonna do it. They have the know-how, they have the understanding. Unfortunately, they have been through other fires, other wildfires and devastations that have taken out towns just like it did to Lahaina. So they understand what this journey is gonna look like. I'm ready to fight. The war paint is on. It's January 2025, and went to the property just this past Friday, and it's coming along. We're in the rebuilding process, and it's exciting to see the building that's happening and the movement that's continuing forward. Obviously, we'd like to be a lot further than we are, but I'm excited that we are moving in a positive direction. It's a long road ahead, and I'm grateful to be where we are today. I know 18 months ago we were in a lot scarier place, and there wasn't a lot of hope. But today, January 2025, I'm hopeful that we're rebuilding Lahaina and that we're going to come back stronger. Something that I could lean on and trust about this team was that they've done it before. They've helped the Paradise Fires. They came down and they have helped our Lahaina community and our Kula community here on Maui. And they're still here. They haven't left like they promised when they first landed. They said, we're here, we're gonna be here to the end. But they're still here, they still have an office on Maui, and they're still plugging away, and they've earned my trust, they've earned my family's trust, and we believe in them, and we're grateful for them that they came down to our community and helped us at a time when we were really lost.
All right, so the reason, and many of you have heard me talk about this before, really the word I capture when Tia talks about is hope. That's the principal reason why I want to show that. In addition to just discussing the fact that we've done this before, I just came back from Maui on Thursday night, and that hopeful message is I think even stronger than it was in January. I was actually there getting video to update this so you can actually see the progress of what's happening in Lahaina. There's significant rebuilding occurring, and principally because we settled that case a year ago and the resources have not yet flowed there. The reason why I was there was to catch up on the claims management process that is going on, which we'll talk about here. But the fact that people feel confident and understanding they're going to get something from the defendants in that case is allowing them to move forward. And that's really where I want to link into here. Because we're 10 months out, it seems to me as we do these fires, and this is the 10th community that I've been in doing this, that the pace of what we do is quickening. Many of you have sat down with me in the beginning. I would have told you, when you asked me how long would this take, I think I would have told you 4 to 5 years, which is a tragic message to give to folks who just lost everything. But that's my job, is right. I can't make it up. I have to tell you what I know based on my experience. But in 30 days, we figured out how this fire started. By the way, so did Edison, despite the fact that they told you they didn't. We'll go through that. The Army Corps cleaned up everybody's property very quickly. Right? I know the county is slow in the permitting process. We're actually figuring out a strategy to help leverage all of your voices in that to ensure that they're actually dealing with you on a better, more timely fashion. I know many of you want to get in the ground immediately, and we're trying to work through some of those issues. But point being, I think now we have a trial date, January 25th of 2027. That's going to anchor this process. It was really, really important to get a trial date. It's later than we would have wanted to. We were trying to get an October of 2026 date. It's 1 quarter later, January 2027. But that's the anchor. That's what Edison does not want these cases to go into a courtroom in front of a jury. The fact pattern is just, it's not good for them. Okay, so and it's no coincidence that they've offered convince you that the only way for you to get money is to go sign up with them, because they're telling the judge at the same time, we don't want to mediate these cases, judge. We're going to try them. They're not going to try them. So I think their posture by summertime should change, and I think, you know, while it's another 6, 7 months from now, stick with us. I think we've got them where we need them to be. And just like Tia had hope in January, I'm hoping that you all, we begin to turn the corner and see that there is a path forward here for Altadena and Sierra Madre and parts of Pasadena to come back. So thank you for watching that again. Okay, I'm going to run through some slides. Many of you have seen them before, so I'm going to go relatively quickly. If you have a question during any time, please just raise your hand and stop. I don't want to talk to you. I'd like to converse with you if that's okay, if you want to, okay? So our team, and that just doesn't mean me, it means Michael and the others, have represented folks in 22 different wildfires in 6 states. My experience has been limited to California and Maui. And you can just see across the bottom here, this isn't all 22, but I think it's 11 of them. Mostly in California, most with PG&E, but some with Edison, and over here on the my far left, your right, is the Maui fire. It's important to understand that this litigation is representing thousands of people, right? We have about 1,500 clients, right? But there's a bunch of other law firms. Many lawyers. We're in Los Angeles County. There's lots of lawyers here, as you guys know, unfortunately, in some cases. But we organize ourselves into committees to ensure that the work is getting done across this complex litigation. And Michael, myself, and a gentleman named Jerry White, who is Michael's partner at Watts Law Group, Watts Law Firm, are peppered all over the litigation. And so you can be assured that your lawyers and your law firms are in the middle of all these discussions that are going on about the litigation. And most of what's happening now, folks, is you're not seeing. It's a lot of depositions, which are videotaped interviews of witnesses and people with key information. It's a lot of investigation on the equipment that was taken down out of Eaton Canyon and expert opinions being written. So there's a lot of work going on. Some really interesting things that we're finding out about exactly how the fire started and why Edison is so negligent in what they didn't do. Again, you guys understand better than anybody where we're located. The area of origin right there in Eaton Canyon. The 2 substations that that close the circuit here in Eaton Canyon, of the 2 energized power lines that are up there, the 2 circuits, right? And then, as you all know, these are the 2 that currently serve power to your community. And here's the 1, 3, we call it Tower 3 here, it's actually monitored Tower 208. It's the far east end of about 20 towers that are connected by wires, right? But not connected to any substation. That means it's not generating, no power is flowing through that. And that's been in that circumstance since 1971 after the Somar earthquake. We haven't quite figured out exactly why they took it out of service, but it's still sitting up there. Okay, there's a few videos here. This is our good friend Jerry Singleton, who's another very competent lawyer here. I believe his client is the ARCO station. This video is security camera footage. What you'll see in this first video is the overlay of the digitization that we did, photogrammetry to affix the objects that are in Eaton Canyon. And you all know where this is, New York Avenue. This is pointed in the southeast direction. And you'll see when you go through this that we've overlaid this video that was taken from this camera on top of our model. And you'll see the bright flashes of light. And if I was a little taller, I'd be able to get up to where it shows there. But we overlaid the actual video footage on top of the photogrammetry to show you that the arcing events, the bright lights that flash, are in the top left-hand corner to you of tower number 208, which is remember, the de-energized tower on January 7th, not connected to any substation. And so that's just the perspective from the camera. see the video footage. It's a street light, and then you'll see right up here, I think is where you'll see the right there, flash overlay showing you it's occurring, the arcing events occurring on that squat tower. The second flash, and then you'll see right here, flames erupt. So the start of this fire is on video. Yes, sir.
Did the wires cross as that event rise?
So it's a great question, right? So from this perspective, it's hard to see how close these are together, but they're parallel to one another. Remember, that wind event that occurred, you all lived through it, probably one of the windiest things you've ever experienced, except if maybe you were here in 2011. I think there was another very, very damaging wind event. Those wires that are connected to the tall transmission towers are blowing in the wind, right? I'll just jump ahead. There were two events that occurred, what we call faults in the system, where energy stopped flowing and then the surge of power goes through the line. We believe at the time that these lines were blowing in the wind, they got very close. They didn't touch, we don't believe, but there was an induction event, meaning power from an energized line was able to transfer to the de-energized line. The de-energized line is made of metal material, which is a conductive material. And so once the energy was able to transfer, and Edison, by the way, this induction event is a known event in utilities. Edison even told the PUC that they had at least 11 of those events in the previous number of years. So they know this can happen, and that's what's so frustrating and actually maddening about this, right, is that this is a known event and it happened here. So once the power transfers to the conducting material, it's just going to run along that wire, right? And I told you there's 20 towers, it runs about, I think, 5 miles or so. It just, once the energy got onto the line that wasn't energized, it just ran each direction, both east where it was starting, and then it ran all the way west. And how do we know that? How do we know the energy ran along that previously de-energized line? Because we see the events of arcing and scarring on these towers. And those towers are now removed. The two towers at either end, 228 and 208 and 227, have been removed. We've cut off the bridges, we have the paddles, we have all the material. We're now testing that metal in a lab in Western Kentucky University. It's the only one that has a machine big enough to run these pieces of metal through it. And we're finding some very interesting things that I can't quite share with you yet, but we will share. That confirm what we know about how this fire started. So last video, I wanted to show you that we've been able to use our photogrammetry and take video that was shot by witnesses from different perspectives just to prove and demonstrate that this fire didn't start down here like Edison first said. It's starting right below the tower. That's actual video footage. And you can see, and I'll show you in the next slide here, that, and you're looking at the timestamps here, which direction is that fire moving? Down the hill, right? And you all know it came down this direction, and then we think the wind kind of changed direction, and then pushed it, unfortunately, into your neighborhood and neighborhoods. This fire did not start down the hill, and I'll show you that, okay? We talked about 2 faults detected. At 6:11, 3 seconds apart, those are the 2 flashes that you saw. That's the event. What happens in these events where you have what's called a fault is you see a significant drop in power along the lines, and these lines are all connected, right? This is an electrical distribution system. When you get to the state line of California, the wires don't stop, right? They connect because we're an interconnected grid. And so you're seeing, as far away as Las Vegas and up in the Bay Area, these same voltage drops. This is based on a company called Whisker Labs. We have these detectors in people's homes, and they can see when voltage drops. And it wasn't just happening at 6:11 p.m. We know now, based on this data, that Edison's system was struggling for many hours before the fire. And not only was it struggling for many hours before the fire, Edison actually had some knowledge there were going to be problems, right? Because, well, the Palisades fire was severe enough to push a fire that would have started through communities, right? Catherine Blunt, who writes for the Wall Street Journal, who's an amazing reporter, started in March saying that perhaps this decommissioned line was the start of the fire. Okay, now I want to take you through Edison's own words about what they think or what they thought was going on at the time. This is 1 week after the fire. And the reason why I walk through this with you folks is because I want you to understand this compensation program is not just happenstance. There's a reason why they're offering it to you. And I want to show you their own words, and you tell me if you trust them to offer you the right amount of money, and if are they doing the right thing by you. Okay? So a week after the fire, as we do our telemetry, our monitoring of the system, we did not see any electrical anomalies. Okay, that was a week after the fire. 2 weeks after the fire. They're blaming it on some campsite, right? It appears that the campsite was occupied shortly before the Eaton fire ignited. Well, that was a letter that was written to a bunch of our lawyers here. They're not saying it started there, they're just pointing this out, but it's the obvious connection. Let me show you physically where they said this encampment was located. Recall, here's the tower. You saw with your own eyes which direction the fire was burning. That's 1,400 feet down a significant grade. And if anybody hikers in here, I know you live here because you like to hike. You know this canyon. You know how steep that is. You're not. Someone who's down here camping isn't going to walk up there and ignite a fire. It's just not going to happen. Okay, so we debunked that. And we went and had a press conference and showed our video to the media because we wanted everyone to know what we found out. We weren't marketing for clients this time. We were trying to figure out what happened. Do you even have the right to sue them? That's how we operate. So we decided to tell everyone. We showed the media. So 10 days after that, I guess Mr. Pizarro saw the video. He said, hey, are there things here we just don't understand, and should we bring back into the fold? He's saying we gotta go look at it again. I guess they missed it. And so fast forward a couple months, and Mr. Pizarro tells Wall Street, absent any other evidence, it's us. I mean, that's his words, changing our designation to probable. Well, why is he doing that? Because his stock is traded on the New York Stock Exchange. He has to tell his investors, I have a material event that's going to impact my company's economic performance. I'm telling you now, we're going to have liability. His lawyers are not saying that in court. I want to be very clear about that. They say there's been no determination as to what started the wildfire. And we have to have a trial about that. Again, delay in court. So that you all think you're never going to get paid unless you voluntarily participate in their program. And then Mr. Pizarro puts this quote out. In July, community members shouldn't have to wait for the final conclusion of the Eaton fire investigation to get the support they need to begin rebuilding. I agree. That's me saying. Even though the details of how the Eaton fire started are still being evaluated, even though we told you back in April that we were the ones who caused it, SCD will offer an expedited process to resolve claims fairly and promptly. Well, what's fairly mean? I mean, I have a difference of opinion about what fairly means. I think you all are under California law. It's very clear what fairly and equitable means. I think they have a different position, and promptly, well, we don't have their final program yet, so I guess I should reserve judgment on saying it's going to be fair, to be fair to them. We have to wait to see what their final numbers are. Okay. So again, recapping, we've gone through this, right? They started saying there was no fault on their equipment. They then later found out there was. They told the PUC that. They identified a homeless encampment as being the place where the fire started. They had to retract that. You saw the video, yada, yada, yada. And now we're to the point where they're offering to pay you. Companies like Edison don't offer to pay you if they don't think they did anything wrong. They just don't. Okay. Why are they responsible under, and here's where I Raise your hand if you have any questions. There's two theories under which we pursue compensation or justice for you. One is called inverse condemnation. It works a lot like eminent domain, where the government takes your property. They cannot take your property under our Constitution without paying you the fair market value for that property. Inverse condemnation works like this. Edison is a utility that's been granted a monopoly by the state of California. You do not have a choice. You can put some solar panels on your roof, but you still have to buy, as of today, from them. If you're not in Pasadena's service territory, right? So, because they have monopoly, if they take your property, they're going to be treated like a government entity. They have to pay you for it. In this case, they took your property by starting a fire. So they took your property without your consent, and therefore they have to pay you for it. Okay? It's based in our Constitution. The utilities are trying over and over again to get the legislature to remove this. They've been unlucky so far in getting that done. Unsuccessful. Okay, that's the first thing. That pays for all your property damage. The non-economic damages, your personal injury, your wrongful death, your emotional distress, we have to show negligence. Negligence just means that Edison didn't act as a reasonable utility would, facing the same circumstances. So what would a utility have done with what we call a potentially dangerous situation, a PDS warning from the National Weather Service 3 days before the fire? Would they have instituted a public safety power shutoff, a PSPS? Okay. Did they act reasonably in keeping the tower up there for 54 years? Did they act reasonably in how they maintained a piece of equipment that was sitting idle for 54 years? Right? It goes on, guys. It's maddening, and it has to stop, and the only way these things end up getting better is by everyone acting to hold them accountable. Okay, what do we have to support inverse? We have the video we showed you. We have the Whisker Labs data. The metallurgic testing that we're doing on the pieces of metal that were picked up on the ground, does it match the tower? Remember when that arcing event happened, pieces that tower melted and fell to the ground. That's how the fire started, right? Fell into unmaintained vegetation.
Because Tower 208 is not accessible by a car or truck.
It's really hard to get there. Yes, sir?
Weren't they supposed to take out the wires years ago?
So they made an application to remove the equipment years ago.
The
And they were,
wires from tower to tower.
yes. And under our discovery actions, asking questions, written questions, and oral interviews, we will find out why they didn't do that. They should have. Yes, ma'am.
Who's responsible for removing the brush?
The brush is the responsibility of the utility under the regulations of the California Public Utilities Commission. They have responsibility to do what we call vegetation management, because it's known, obviously, that if one of these things were to fail and fall to the ground, if it falls into vegetation, what's going to happen? It's going to start a fire. In this case, it was the hot molten metal that fell to the ground into brush that was not maintained, and you saw what happened. You saw it quickly that fire. That was real time. I mean, in terms of the elapsed time, I didn't speed that up. Yes, ma'am?
Does that include overhanging trees and shrubs in the community itself?
Yes. And so what happens there, if your home, if it's still standing, or if you're in a place now and you see vegetation that may cause imminent danger, you should call the utility and report it to them, because they keep track of that stuff. They keep track of the fact that you reported it, right? But they should also be sending someone out if it's a real threat. Yes, sir?
What about the NPR report stating that there were up to like, I think, 6
Right.
morning events where there were fires in Alpena or arcing
Right.
the lines? How is that involved with this?
So it's a great question. I saw that report. For the people whose homes were damaged by those fires that occurred when the lines were arcing, those lawyers who represent those people will have to go out and investigate how that particular fire started. Those fires are not the same as necessarily this, what happened here, right? My understanding is each one of those power lines that failed or fell, that were energized, were all Edison's equipment, but I'm not positive. I've not investigated that. It does not take away from the start of this fire, but you're pointing to, I'm sure, what Edison's lawyers will mention, right? Based on the specific plaintiff that's involved making the claim. Oh, that wasn't this, that was this other thing, and that wasn't our equipment. That's the argument I would expect them to make, but I don't, it doesn't change what we're doing here. It's just further evidence that their system was struggling under a wind event. It actually adds credence to the fact that they should have shut the power off. At least as to the distribution lines, right, which are the smaller lines that are running through your neighborhood. These are transmission towers, and we could debate over whether or not that's a reasonable thing to shut down a transmission line. They say that would have caused all sorts of problems for their infrastructure. We say we don't think so, and we'll have that debate. So you see there, we have a bunch of evidence there. And here I just wanted to show you, again, we're not making this up. This is the evidence of arcing that existed on what we call tower number 3, that 208 tower. First and foremost is how many holes are there for bolts? There's 4 holes there for bolts. Those holes aren't there. They're there for a reason. They should have bolts in them. And what happens, guys, is this, when you tighten these bolts down, it means the metal will be sitting on metal, and it will not allow energy to transfer, electricity to transfer in between the gap, which can cause sparking. And what you see is, you see evidence all over this tower of these sparking, arcing events, and this discoloration. Sorry, get out of the way. And again, we sent this to independent experts. Actually, the press did, and confirmed that this was new and fresh, not years in the making. All right, under our theory, if you see it on one end of the tower, as I talked earlier, you should see evidence of arcing on the west side of the tower, right? Because this tower ran on both directions along that circuit that's not connected to any substation. So when it terminates on its western side, you should see the same evidence of arcing. The good news is in here is there was no fire started in the brush. But this is the gold substation that sits up on the west side of the canyon. Here's the tower 228. Here's these bolt holes. This is classic example of arcing elongation occurring. So we have plenty of evidence of that. All right, for negligence, walk through this. There's 4 or 5 different theories of negligence. This goes to the question of induction. One of you guys, the gentleman in the white shirt, talked about it. This is Edison telling the PUC that they had at least 10 instances of induction, and this was done in 2021. This picture is always amazing to me. This was 1923 of them installing this tower. These pin dots show where all the towers are located. Again, good question, why did they take the lines out of it? You have to ask them. My suspicion is they didn't want to spend the money. These companies don't like to spend money unless they have to. They want to show profits. And if you're a shareholder, you can kind of understand that. But at the end of the day, they're going to pay billions of dollars because they didn't take this step. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Go to the doctor every year, get your physical. Right? Why? Why do we do that? The same thing here. Take your medicine. Take the dark tower down. This would have never happened. It's a series of towers. Could have been prevented. This I just wanted to demonstrate again to you because Edison is taking certain actions and they have every right to go try to weaken regulations. That's their right to go do that. They were successful alongside of PG&E and San Diego Gas and Electric in weakening the regulations around abandoned, what they call idle, equipment. Guess what? They were successful. So they didn't have to do all the things that the CPUC wanted them to do to make this safer. They're trying to walk away from this. They sent a nasty letter to the LA Times saying that this was a hit piece. But they did not deny the fact that they lobbied. It's in public record that they lobbied. One of the elements of negligence is, was this a known fire risk, and did you take the right actions? This has to do with their safety record and how they needed repairs in this area. They know Eaton Canyon is an incredibly high many of you, I mean, some of you may have told me that, but that's it's a known thing that this is a fire risk, okay? So they have orders to clear vegetation management. They had plenty of open work orders that they didn't do. We talked about the failure to ground already. Okay. Any questions about how we see the case, our evidence, why they're responsible? Does anyone, any questions, I'm sorry? Right, everybody good? Yes, ma'am.
Were they responsible, have the responsibility for notifying people who might have been,
West of Lake?
Yes.
Yes. It's a great question.
What's the question?
Okay, the question was, does Edison have responsibility for notifying people after the fire starts?
To evacuate?
To evacuate.
Oh.
I interpreted that's what you meant, ma'am, right? Okay. Edison does not have that responsibility. That responsibility lies with your various government agencies. Let me just take a minute and talk about this for 1 second. I'm not a civil rights lawyer, so you don't want to hire me to handle that case. Fundamental problems occurred that day. And if you read the after-action report that the County of LA put out, it's a little bit like this. Everyone's kind of pointing at everybody else, right? Well, unfortunately, when you do that, you look to see where the responsible party is. You can't really find it out. Is the fire department's responsibility to notify everyone? Was it the County Office of Emergency Services? They have a system called Genesis, which some of you might subscribe to, where they divvied up, you may or may not know this, but they divvied up where your house is into different sections. And Genesis is the piece of software that's run where when they see the fire coming to your particular evacuation zone, they're supposed to hit the button to issue the warning. Okay? On the east side of the lake, everyone was told to leave in time for the most part. On the west side, people of color mostly, not a big, no warning, no notice. And so when you read the after-action report, and my colleague Christian back there is the one who read it word for word and showed me what happened, something happened, and it kind of made it so hard to follow. But someone didn't ultimately push the button. Who's responsible for pushing the button? That's the part where they start blaming each other. But we believe that the software didn't obviously work as needed. And the consequences were tragic. 19 people died, most of them died west of Lake because they didn't get warnings. Without going into too great a detail, we do work with someone who lost a family member. And her stories are, I can't even bear to repeat them, about what she was trying to do to convince her family member to leave. And she said, well, I didn't get any warnings. You know, people, we're all good citizens in the community, right? We follow what our government tells us to do. They tell us to leave, we're going to leave. And part of it is that rationale, like, I know fires happen there. They're telling me the fire's not moving west of Lake. I'll just stay. I don't want to leave my house. Who's going to steal my stuff? What's going to happen? Right? And so this person didn't leave and perished. It's terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, I was in total denial.
What was going on that night?
Well, electricity turned off at 6 o'clock. I didn't have any electricity. And I was in total denial that the fire was going to come towards Edith down to, I live on Rapello, which is 1 block south of Farnsworth. I was in total denial.
Yeah.
And I actually got up and woke up at 2 o'clock, and I seen the house in the middle of the block catch on fire in the backyard because this lady didn't take care of her yard. She had weeds up to whatever. And what angers me, that I was in front of my house and the fire department came by and they didn't pull one hose. Was there any fire hydrants tapped in Altadena, period? That's a question I'd like to ask.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. Because we don't, let me just talk briefly about suing the government entity. It's very hard to win those cases because they have what we call discretionary immunity. It's constitutionally protected, and the reason we do that is because if we could sue our governments, our governments wouldn't exist. I'm not trying to diminish what you went through and what happened, and I'm not apologizing for what they did or didn't do, because I don't know. All I know is they would have never been in that position had this fire not started, and that is how the
Yeah.
legal theories work. So I know I'm not answering your question.
Kind of woulda, shoulda, did it.
I hear you loud and clear. And yes,
I have a question. I recently read in the newspaper that Edison is now saying that they are not responsible because of a law in the state of California that Governor Newsom had passed a year or two ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, that said now the state of California taxpayers are responsible. Do you know anything about that?
yeah, so Kathleen, what you're talking about, and that's an LA Times article, and I believe the headline was a little misleading, actually, but that's okay. And Chris probably has more to say on this. But what the legislature did through Chris's hard work in 2019 was help provide what we call a backstop or a fund, money that would be available to the utilities to access to pay fire survivors and victims. If the utility started a fire but was found to have acted reasonably in the start of the fire. So what was happening was PG&E had just gone bankrupt because they killed 124 people over 4 years and burned down thousands of people's houses and millions of acres of California land. And they couldn't pay for the liability, right? So they filed bankruptcy. That's what the $13.5 billion that we were involved with, 17,000 people. For our clients, a total of 70,000 people who filed claims. So the legislature and the governor got to work to say, we can't have utilities going out of business in California. That's not good for our economy, and I agree. You can't have a functioning economy if you don't have a functioning and stable utility, right, system. So they passed that law. It's called AB 1054, provided $21 million. And to the utilities' credit, they actually behaved okay after PG&E burned down the town. There's only been one fire that they needed to use this money to pay for liabilities. It's called the Dixie Fire. Under the law, they have to pay $1 billion first, and then they can start paying. What happened, so that's AB 1054, but then just this past year, SB 254 was passed to add another $18 billion to that fund. Again, there's fear that the Eaton fire is going to eat away that entire $20 billion, and again, we need the capital available to pay you all. But we don't know what the total liability is yet, right, on this fire. I'll just say, I do not, this is my opinion now, not as your lawyer, but just as my opinion. I think there needs to be a better way to solve this problem, right? Because what's happening is the utilities are putting in 50% of that money, and all of us are putting in the other 50% in the form of an average $3 surcharge a month on your power bill. You probably don't even know you're paying it. This is a result of Enron that we have to pay back, all of us, for Enron's misgivings, right? And that's part of the issue, is people feel like they're contributing to help a company pay what your shareholders should be responsible for. And so I think in the long run, I think we would all agree we probably have to have a better system to ensure that utilities that they're stable, but also that they stop burning down communities and killing people. So that's what that is about. Edison is still going to be responsible for paying you all. The question is, when they go to the PUC, will they be approved to get reimbursed that money? That's how it works. They pay you all, then they go to the PUC, they make an application. The PUC has to make a finding that they acted reasonably or prudently. And if they make that finding, then the money gets reimbursed back to Edison. Okay?
So it's true. So actually, if the PUC says we find in favor of you, Edison, so then Edison is telling the truth that the taxpayers may ultimately have to pay Edison back?
So it's ratepayers, right? So if you don't pay a utility bill, most people do. But secondly, remember, Edison and the other utilities kicked in 50% of that fund. So it's not completely coming from ratepayer money. 50% of it is. So again, that's something, like I said before, that our organization thought it was right to support for, because at the end of the day, if Edison goes into bankruptcy, it becomes a lot harder to get you compensated fully for what happened here, and that's my job. Put the politics aside, even though that's really hard for me. But that's how it works. Okay? Right. I'm going to try to roll through this, guys. It's your Saturday morning. I want to make sure you get back to your families and you and the rest of your team. I do have some important information about the comp program that I want to walk through. So I talked to you earlier, or I talked to a gentleman out here about the 7th Amendment to the Constitution. The very reason you have the ability to hold Edison accountable is because our Bill of Rights. And that's like a really important foundation that I want you to understand. You have the right to go seek redress in a court for what's been done to you. Don't forget that. This is our judge, in this case, Laura Siegel, doing an amazing job in terms of being on top of everything that's happening. She holds these hearings at least once a month. The next one is on November 18. She's keeping the parties honest and trying to get them to move quickly so that we have this court date, which I already told you about, right? We want to hold this court date. We actually want it to be moved up. Let me just talk about 1 second why we want it moved up. We already know how this fire started. It's on video. There are many people in your community, as you know, who are elderly, they would like to see Edison held responsible and accountable before their time is done. And there's provisions in the law under California Civil Code, which allows us to advance a trial date for people who are over 75 and suffering from illnesses, terminal illnesses. And so we're in the process of figuring out how we might get the trial date moved up if we do that. We talked about this in court of law, so I'm not telling you anything that the judge doesn't already know. All right, let's talk about the comp program. I think I've already previewed what I think about it, but I want to premise this by saying I do have an obligation to all of my clients to ensure that I bring them the information about what's going on, and that's why we do this. I also am very well aware, piggybacking on the comment it just made about older people, that there are some people in the community who are desperate, who are living in their cars, who are our clients, or who are jumping from place to place, friend to friend, because they don't have the resources to have a house over a roof over their head. And so there is money that is going to be offered through this comp program, and if my client comes to me and says, hey, I'm thinking about taking it, what do you think? I have an ethical obligation, as does Rico and Michael Watson and every other lawyer in our firm, to give them our advice. And that advice has to be based on their own circumstances, not on what I think is right. So if any of you out there are looking at this when this becomes final and you think you might need to take it, let's sit down and talk about it. I take that responsibility incredibly seriously. But on the whole, the compensation program is weak, extremely weak. And I base that on my experience of representing 17,500 people in California who've been through a process followed by California law. And look, every defendant has the right to settle a case. It is not, however, the right of the plaintiff to have to take it, or the responsibility of the plaintiff to have to take it. They can make their own opinion. That's informed and based on their own circumstances. I want you to know that we've been engaged in conversations with Edison's folks about making the program better. This just doesn't offer enough compensation for what you've been through. And so we're working to make it better. And when they announce it, my cynical mind says they're going to announce it sometime around Thanksgiving, right? Tell you that we've heard the community, we know you need resources, and this Thanksgiving, we're opening up our program so you can apply to get fast compensation. Okay? We'll see. However, in my view, this program is designed solely to get you to take less than what they were required to pay you under law. That's the only reason it exists, is to save them money, in my view. My job is to get you everything you're entitled to under the law, whether that means a jury trial, whether that means a mediated settlement, or quite frankly, this program. And so, look, you can come to me in 3 weeks and say, Boxer, you messed up. This program seems really good. And I will tell you if it is, based on our experience. Okay?
programs that are out there. Your program is out there, their program is out there. In the example that they're showing, they're saying a family of four, a husband, wife, 2 children, occupying a house of 1,500 square feet, house furnished to the ground. What they're offering under that program is a total of $1,948,000. I'm not saying that's good, I'm not saying that's bad. All I'm trying to do is make the general public aware of what the numbers are today. They may change when they come up with a final program in the end of this year, but that's it. Just make people aware of it.
So I'd encourage you to, by the way, my program's not a program, it's litigation, but I appreciate your point. And everyone has a right to hold an entity that harms you responsible in a court of law. That's your choice as to whether you want to hire a lawyer to help you do that. Yes, that program that was outlined there does walk through their compensation program, and I'll show you that in a second. So, you know, my general view, and I shared this with you earlier, is can you trust the company that burned down your town, and also gave you 14 different reasons as to why the wildfire started. And by the way, they're not going to, if you take that money from them, they're not going to admit any responsibility for starting a fire. And you're going to have to release them forever and always of anything known or unknown. It is a complete waiver and release of all claims. The gentleman and I who just talked, we talked earlier, and what I asked him, and I know you're not taking a position, so let me rephrase that. My position would be on the comp program. Is if Edison really, truly wanted to help this community, first of all, my number is listed, as are all the other lawyers. They could simply call and say, we want to resolve your cases. Who are your clients? What's their damages? Let's get to work. They haven't done that. If they are going to offer this compensation program, rather than simply asking you to sign away all of your future rights, why don't they just make it a credit towards whatever we negotiate in the future? So they can get you the money quickly. They're obviously willing to offer it, right? Just say whatever we provide is an advance against a future award. And by the way, if there's no future award, like let's just say this whole lawsuit thing goes away, well, they're already offering it to you. And they're telling you you don't have to give it back, right? When you sign it, it doesn't say, if the court finds that we're not responsible, you have to refund me the money. So if you truly want to get people money fast, go ahead, get it to them. I can tell you it's going to be less than what you get if you go through this process, so they're going to be light on the payment. You're not going to owe any money back based on what, if you go through litigation. Yes, ma'am?
Well, it only stands to reason, it only stands to reason that the purpose of not communicating with the law firms to be just, I mean, you use the word just, but to justly compensate a burn down of a person's home because they don't want to pay attorney's fees, right?
So let's talk about attorney's fees. It's a good point. They do
Right.
include two. Okay.
Let me
Yeah.
finish.
Yeah.
So if their compensation offer or program is strictly based on you giving up your rights legally, they don't want people trying to double dip, right? And they don't want to pay fees. So like you said, it's designed to get you to take less under the law, period. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, one minor correction.
Okay.
They do have a provision to pay if you are represented by a lawyer and your lawyer submits the application to the compensation program. They have a provision to pay you 10% on top of the net that you get that would go to help pay your legal fees. So aside from that, you're right.
Okay, so then if we've already signed up, well, that's not signed up, we already hired you as our attorney, then we're still gonna pay some kind of attorney's fees if we accept the program through Edison. Am I right?
That's correct. So if you keep for you. You're going to get whatever you get from the formula. If you're in the quick pay program, right, they're going to offer you something. It's take it or leave it.
Is your fee still the same, 25%?
Yes. So there'd be a difference collected between the 10% and the 25%. Although I gotta say, Rico, maybe you have something you want to add here. We haven't really gotten down to discussing, you know, as a leadership of the law firms, what we're going to do if our clients take it and we help them. You know, it's open. That part hasn't been fully discussed yet. But I want to tell you one other thing, and then I'll let Rico go. Remember I talked about inverse condemnation earlier? This applies to your property claims, both your real property, your personal property, your vehicles, boats, RVs, and things like that. Under California law, the party responsible for taking that stuff from you, Edison, has to pay your lawyer's fees. Okay? So they're going to pay your legal fees under the provision of inverse condemnation for that set of damages that are related to your property. As it relates to your emotional distress and physical injuries and wrongful death, they're not responsible unless we seek punitive damages and things like that. And so that's the way it's worked in other cases that we've been involved with. So you got $100,000 from PG&E and the wildfires up there. You got paid $125,000, and you paid the $25,000 to your lawyer. So you kept $100,000 on your property damage claims. I know that was a lot of numbers. Does everyone understand what I just
But
said?
Edison isn't gonna admit they started that fire. Doesn't that have to
Yes, but
happen in order to get negligence?
it's a very smart. It's a negotiated part of the settlement. Okay? So, yes, when you negotiate something, you go through this and you say, hey, you have to pay our attorney's fees on the inverse, on the property damage claims. Okay. We understand that we have to do that if we went to a court of law. So we'll advance that money as well. Rico, you want to add?
Yeah, thanks, Doug. So you're obviously a smart person who is listening very carefully, as you should, and you're reading everything as you should. Doug Boxer, as you can see, is a brilliant lawyer. He's the kind of man who can read word by word and take you through a very sophisticated and nuanced analysis. And you need to listen to him as you evaluate. But I'm a country boy from Texas, and I also follow very basic frameworks. And I can tell you, or ask you, who do you trust? The people who burned down your town or the people who are going to try to help you build it back up? Are you going to trust their lawyers who have an ethical obligation as attorneys to their clients to minimize damages? Or the lawyers who are trying to maximize your damages? Are you going to trust Pizarro, whose obligation and duty is to his shareholders, not to you? Or are you going to trust the people whose obligation is to you? Yes, ma'am.
I don't claim to be all that smart. I'm just critically thinking about what it means to me.
Yeah, as you
And
should.
what it means to other people like me,
Yes.
right? And that's everybody in this room, right? So I think we have, or you guys have a responsibility to tell us that so that we can minimize the damage to us.
Agreed.
That's all I'm doing.
No, I agree. Let me, I want to, because,
Doug?
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna ask, I think that's why Doug said at the beginning that we really can't opine on it just yet. Because as they say, the devil's in the details. There are bullet points that have been outlined, categories that have been outlined, but now rolling into Thanksgiving will become the details. The details are what you really have to look at to say, you can say that if you generally fall into these categories, then you're going to receive this number. Yay, sounds good to me. That's what I would be saying. But when I start to read the details, there's a lot of, well, if this and or that, and or but, shall or may, then all of a sudden, if I look at it and say, well, wait a minute, now all of a sudden I don't qualify. What Rico was saying is, the underlying spirit of the heart is, if you are willing to do the right thing, then do the right thing, which is what Doug said. Why even go through this process? We're willing to pay, we know we're guilty, they're going to say they're guilty in the slide, the comments evolve to that, then all of a sudden they're going to say, well, sign this bottom line agreement that we're not responsible. So, double-minded, talking out of both sides of the mouth, that's why we're just waiting to see what rolls out in terms of the fine print and determine whether or not it is a good deal at that point, which Doug has already said there's an obligation to then advise you if it is or if it's not.
Yeah, and Chris, I appreciate those comments, and I do want to say that I understand the position that almost everyone in this room is facing, which is, I don't have enough. I was living my life. I love my community. You know, one day and the next day my house is gone. Everything I worked for and built up is gone. Or my grandparents worked hard and bought this house, and this was my nest egg, and now it's gone. Or my rental apartment that I really love, and I love my neighbors, and everything I own is gone, and I'm trying to find a place to go. And so therefore, this compensation program could be viewed as your lifeline to being able to move forward. And I appreciate that. Maybe it's not coming across, but I completely understand that. I'm simply trying to give you the information to be able to make a choice between A and B. And we're not there yet, because B being litigation, A being the program's draft. And I told you in the beginning, we're talking with their lawyers who created it to try to make it better. But I just want to point out, before you ask, do you mind if I just go through this real quick? I'm concerned that people are going to want to leave. And so I want to get through this slide, but I promise I will take your question, okay? Just make sure you remember it. And I also hesitate to go through the examples because we talked about it being a draft program. And so I don't know where it's going to end up. But just as by way of example. So they talk about providing emotional distress of $100,000 per adult and less for kids. So that, I'm really hard pressed to tell anyone that $100,000 is like, push that away. It's a lot of money. But I also know, as I told you, having done this for thousands of people, that that amount of money for emotional distress is insulting based on what other utilities have paid. I'm just telling you that, okay? And the offer for children is $50,000. I want to cry because kids can't process this stuff like adults can. And adults have PTSD. And the amount of money we get for people in emotional distress is already short of what they should be paid. The only reason we allow it to happen is because this has impacted thousands of you. If your house was burned down by Edison, if your house was the only house on the block that was burned down by Edison because their equipment started a fire that burned down your house, I would be able to get you a different amount than you're going to get in this, because this burned down 6,000 houses and 3,000 other structures. And while I would love to get each of you what you are absolutely owed, it is very hard to do in the context of a devastating event which took out an entire community. So what do we have to do? We have to do the best we can, right? And so I can't tell you what my other clients got, but I can tell you it was more than that. And the kids were treated equally to the adults. And the kids' money goes into a trust. It is there when they turn 18. It is a college fund. It is a fund to help them buy their first house because they went through something god-awful that no one else should ever have to go through. And I told the lawyers that on the call when we were on with Mr. Feinberg. I said, can you please tell me you're going to increase the $50,000 to kids? Oh, we've heard that before. So there was no commitment to it, okay? Renters of apartments. If you go through the litigation, you are treated individually in the litigation. So if the apartment had 6 occupants, each one of you would be treated for this is for the purposes of personal property. You're each going to be able to pursue replacement costs for everything you lost. All your clothes, everything that was destroyed. This program proposes to pay $50,000 for the entire household. then I guess you somehow negotiate what you get for that 50. If there are 5, you each get 10, or one person gets 20. This should be per individual, okay? Same thing, if you, many people in this community, you have multi-generational households, right? Like, you'll have your elderly parents living with you or an adult child. If your house is totally destroyed, if you're not a renter, if you don't have a rental agreement that we can show, then you are a resident, an occupant of a household that was fully destroyed, and you are lumped in with whomever you're living with. Again, not individualized. This one is interesting, because $550 to $750 a square foot seems really good. I'm seeing some shaking heads. These are from people probably who had bids from contractors, and we've got bids from contractors. So this is light, but not only is it light, it covers the cost of replacing your trees, landscaping, and your hardscaping, which are separate categories in the litigation. Okay? So they're taking an all-in number, whereas if you had a home that sat on an acre and you had mature redwood trees under California law, the person that takes your trees owes you 3 times the replacement cost of those trees. Or oak trees, or pick your tree. So we do arbor reports, and we generate an arbor report. It's an expert opinion that goes into your case. And we say, here's what was on the property. Here's the Google Earth shot of the house before, and here's the Google shot now. Everything's gone. Personal income loss is not included, meaning if you had a home-based business and you're struggling to work because you've been moving around 6 times and you lost personal income, or your place of employment burned down, this program doesn't offer you anything for that. And then if you had a house, well, there's something called loss of use, basically the fact that you can't enjoy your property anymore, and they're offering to pay you $2,500 a month for a $1.2 million house. This would essentially be what you would have to go spend to rent a house of the equivalent nature. And that just is very low compared to what we've seen in other places. Okay. I wanted to give you that information just so you have it. That's the baseline. I expect fully that Edison is going to increase that offer, because I think they've been around to meetings like this and they've heard what the lawyers are saying. And so, we'll see. We'll see what they do. We'll see if they sweeten the offer. If they do, and it makes sense for you to participate, I have a responsibility as a California licensed lawyer to tell you that. So I want to be really clear. I live up to my ethical responsibilities. So we'll do that. So who can participate really quickly? Homeowners with or without insurance, renters with or without insurance, occupants. We talked about the difference between a renter and an occupant. Business owners, commercial property owners. If you suffered a personal injury fleeing the fire, or you believe that an injury that you are suffering now was caused by exposure to the fire. People who passed, and children. All right, we're different. We're a little different than some of our others. You already met our community outreach team. We also have a 14-person case management team who will be assigned to you, and you'll be with that person through the process. But you heard Angela talk about all the support and other things that we offer, right, from our mental health Mondays to our rebuild workshops to our insurance workshops, coffee chats, everything. We try to make ourselves available to you. I host online virtual office hours if you can't make it into the office, and then we hire and retain experts on every single one of the damage categories to ensure that the person that's on the other side of the table is getting expert opinions on what they lost. Again, town halls, workshops, everything else. There's our team. To get started with us, you have to complete a contract. Our contract is 1 page plus some questions on the back. Chris talked about our fee. Chris came to me and said, dude, you are not charging what everyone else is charging. You need to help this community recover. You have to reduce your fees, so we agreed to reduce our fee from 33 1/3 down to 25, what most of the law firms are. Thank you, Chris, for holding me and the rest of us accountable. It's a 1-page contract. It's a contingency fee. Okay? You do not pay us anything unless you get something. If you don't get something and it all blows up, then that's risk is on us. We don't send you a bill for our up here. If you want to schedule a meeting with us, scan that QR code, you can schedule it. All right, I'm done. I've ran, that's 11:30, that was long. Thank you guys for your patience and listening. Tell me your name. Tell me your name. Charmaine. You gotta, let's get back to your question. So if you want to go, guys, sorry, before you ask, thank you again for coming. For all of you that are our clients, like I give mad props. Thank you for trusting us to do this. I think we know what we're doing because we've done it so many times. You can come talk to anyone in a green shirt. I will not leave this room until everybody is gone and gets their questions answered. So thanks again. All right.
I actually didn't have a question, I just had a comment.
Please.
I don't take kindly to anybody suggesting to me that I should give up my right to be compensated for the loss that I've suffered as a result of this. And personally, I don't think anybody else should either. Because this is life-threatening. It's devastating. Period.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go.
This is a great meeting, and I guess I'm struggling with whether or not this is a meeting that I should be asking the question that I'm about to ask. My husband and I are seniors, and we decided after a lot of discussion that we were not going to rebuild. We were not going to rebuild because obviously we didn't want to have to worry about an architect finding a legit contractor, getting permits. We wanted to get on with our life as we knew it. So we made the difficult decision not to rebuild and to sell our lot. And unfortunately, all I'm hearing is rebuild and sell and don't sell your lot.
Yes.
Okay? So as I listen to the meeting today, it's obvious to me that the questions that I have, such as where do we go from here, whether or not we should stay with your firm, which we're very pleased with. We get a lot of communication from you, but it's not a good fit for us right now. And where we are purchasing another home, it's well over $2 million. So even though we have great insurance, we're still losing because of the amount of money that we have to add on just to live at another address. So how can you help us with what we're going through?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and I'll put that one on meeting for not discussing the impacts of what happens when you sell your property, okay? So let me be very clear. You do not give up your right to sue Edison for the damage that occurred because it occurred. The difference is in how we calculate what we call your damages for your real property only. Your real property only, which means your structure, your outbuildings, your landscaping, your hardscaping, okay? The difference is there's two formulas on how we calculate damages for real property. You either get replacement cost, and to get replacement cost, you have to have what we call a present intent to rebuild. If you sell your property, you have given up the ability to say we have a present intent to rebuild, right? Because you sold your property. That dollar figure that I went through, that example of 550 to 750, applied to people who were going to rebuild their property. I should have said at the time, however, if you sold your property, you have a different calculation of damages, which is called diminution in value or reduction in fair market value from the date before the fire, January 6th. So we go out, find an expert, we say, how much was this client's property worth on January 6th in the marketplace, right? You have an expert that says it was worth X. Then you say, we sold our property. Well, what's the fair market value of the property after the fire? It's one of two things. It's either what you got for it. Now, if you closed, then you have that number. If you haven't closed on the property, then it is, again, a market, expert-driven process where we find out what your dirt, what your lot is worth. In both cases, what we would do is we would subtract the fair market value on January 6th. I'm sorry, we'd subtract the market value that you sold the property from the fair market value on January 6th. So let's just use examples. Let's say your home was worth $1.5 million the day before the fire. And let's say you sold the lot for $500,000. Your damage calculation in that, for your lot on that example, is $1 million. So you don't give up your right to collect the damages from Edison for your real property because you suffered it. You had a house that was worth 1.5 in my example before the fire. It was ended up only being worth 500. They took $1 million of value away from you by burning down your house. You do not give up your right to your personal property replacement. You do not give up your emotional distress. You do not give up your physical injury or wrongful death claims. You do not give up your business loss. You do not give up your personal income loss. Okay? And I apologize if that hasn't been communicated to you. That's on me for being a lawyer for the group. We need to do a better job of communicating to people. We do, however, tell people if you can hold on your property because we think the damage calculation is higher. But I respect where you're at. I respect where every one of my clients is at. If you need to make a choice for you, I am not a financial analyst. I do not provide that advice. Okay? You have to do what's right for your family. And that comes for the compensation program as well. At the end of the day, if you just sit down and I walk through with you, Edison program, what we think we can get you, and you say, Doug, I really, really like you. I love your team, but I have to go this direction. That's your choice. I work for you. You are my boss. I listen to you. I have to do what you suggest that you want to do. If you decide you want to stay with us, great. If you decide, hey, I want to apply for the program and see what it gives me, but I don't want to take it, that's your choice too. Right? So we're not there yet. And when we get there, we'll figure it out together. Yes, sir.
What would happen underneath the program that this young lady was just describing? Instead of selling the house, I did a joint venture with somebody who rebuilt it, then put it on the market, and then showed real lots of damage, but I didn't sell the property. I'm doing it as a joint venture.
Again, it will depend upon your own situation and how much money you ultimately spend to rebuild it versus what it's like for like, okay? So let's say you had a 1,200 square foot house and you build a 2,000 square foot house on the new property because zoning allows it. I can't go seek recovery for your 200,000 square foot house from Edison for replacement costs because it has to be like for like income, for good sake. Does that make sense? And then if you were to sell that property in the joint venture, then we'd have to calculate, it's unique to you, is my point. We would have to look at how much you spent, we'd have to look at your insurance proceeds, we have to go through all of that evaluation to see ultimately what your damage calculation would be in the real property. Yes, sir.
In answer to your question, and this is just what I'm reading.
Sir, I'm not going to let you answer her question. What are you going to? What information are you going to provide her?
Yeah, the only thing that I'm going to provide her is what Edison is saying, is that Edison appears to be, once they get the program in effect, appears to be wanting to settle the claim within 90 days. So you'd be giving up all your rights for anything else, but you'd be settling your claim and doing what you want to do. I'm not telling anybody they should take or not take, just making you aware of the information, which this gentleman up here, an attorney, I'm just telling you what's out there now, he's going to tell you what will be out there when the final program comes in.
No, I was just going to say that I applied for a reassessment, property tax reassessment. We didn't lose our home, but I thought perhaps the value of the property would have gone down and the taxes went up by about $300 or $400.
So that's an interesting. So you said you applied to get the house reassessed. The house was not destroyed, and they increased your assessment. I mean, the county is in a pretty terrible place. Think about the revenue they lost. I'm not suggesting that what they did was right or wrong. That's there. You can, as you know, you can appeal any assessment. I would encourage you to do that. They have reassessed. I believe who in this room lost a house and has had their property reassessed? Yeah. So they had both, and they've lowered it significantly, right? Maybe. We had the assessor, Chris Holden put a dinner together about 6 months ago, and the assessor was there. Apparently, and I was not aware of this, there is a state law that does not allow them to reduce it more than a certain amount. So his hands were tied. He said, go to the legislature and get that changed. Easier said than done, right? And remember that counties are funded significantly by the assessed value of the property taxes we all pay. saying your house is not in a burn zone, so they wouldn't reduce it. Yeah. Look, I can't, they've obviously made some decisions that they think they're justified in making. And you're in Altadena. Yeah, no, like, someone has asked certain things like, can I recover this in the litigation? Could I cover my change in my assessment if I thought I was paying unfairly? We've never really pursued that because I'm not sure it's ultimately defensible. We have obligations to pay our property tax, right? And the county just making the decisions that they make. But I hear the frustration. I don't not share it. I don't.
In regard to that, are they assessing it at the value that you had when you purchased it? So like, I've been there 47 years. My value's up there. But I pay those taxes because I've been there 47 years. So are they doing it according to what current value would be?
When they reassess?
Yeah, when they reassess.
So that's a good question. You know, Prop 13 limits what they can increase your property tax, or all of our property taxes by 1.something% a year. So the fact that you've been in your house for 47 years, they can only increase it by what the statute says. If you were to sell your property, it would probably go up significantly, which is the reason why many people choose not to sell, because when you go buy another house, you're now paying today's property tax rate. I don't know is the answer to the question. I'm sorry.
Proposition 19.
13.
Well, they changed it to 19
For what? For the split tax roll thing?
for moving by.
That's right. They did change that. Yes, they amended it. All right. And I understand people may have questions they want to ask me one-on-one. So, look, folks, thank you for taking a portion. Oh, one more question. Sorry.
So with the assessment, because I did look into that,
Yeah.
because they gave us information on it, I instead applied for the postponement. So I am going to pay what they're asking for, and you got, if they charge you 5% a year, but at least if you're hurrying for money and you don't want, to pay your taxes, you can put it on postponement and pay it how you please.
Well, that's interesting. Okay. So I'm sure you can get that information through the LA County Assessor website.
Well, no, it's a government thing.
Yeah, Los Angeles County is the government entity that is.
So that would be better than having your taxes go up and yet it'll hold it well enough until you can afford it or whatever you're trying to do.
Thank you.
I mean, it'd be nice to bring it down, but when I started to look at the pros and cons of it, I was like, because my house didn't burn down either, so I have a whole nother situation.
Okay. We can talk about it. Yeah. Okay. All right, folks. Well,